All right, we'll go ahead and call to order the November 30th, 2021 Area 15 Mule Deer Enhancement Program Subcommittee meeting at 4:01 p.m. And I'll do a quick roll call. Amber Eaton. Here. Bert Ramos. I see that he's here. You're on mute, Bert. All right, we'll come back to Bert. Chris Jasmine.
Here.
Annis. Marshall Everson.
Here.
Rachel Peppers.
I'm here.
Ted McElvain. Jeremy Letts. And Sarah Hale is here. I do see Jerry as a attendee. And Bert, are you with us? Can't hear you, Bert. I'm not sure if your microphone's working. I guess if you can just type into the chat that you're here. Gotcha. Thanks, Bert. And Jerry, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Very good.
All right. Did I miss anybody? Nope. Okay. So I guess the next item is to approve the agenda. So if everyone's had a chance to look at it, I'd make a motion to approve the agenda as is for today, the 30th of November.
Marshall does.
Marshall makes a motion.
I'll second that motion.
Seconds. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Gotcha, Bert. All those opposed, say aye. All right, that motion passes unless there is any public comment. So if there is any public comment from the attendees, just go ahead and raise your virtual hand.
Just a quick technicality, Sarah. You should probably take public comment before the action is taken on the agenda item. So,
okay. All right. Should we redo the vote or just do that for the next one?
that's fine. Just the next one doesn't look like either of the attendees are raising their hands.
Okay, perfect. Okay, next item of business is to approve the minutes from both October 4th and October 15th. So has everyone had a chance to look those over from that email?
Sarah,
Yes.
This is Rochelle. The only thing I see on there is I'm listed as a subcommittee member. As long as that's a non-voting position, I can stay as that. But being as a federal person, I can't be a voting member.
Okay. All right, that's good to know. We will change that. And Tom, do you know any of the technicalities with that? Can there be non-voting subcommittee members?
So at the moment, BLM, the Nevada State Office, has indicated that field personnel may be voting members on these subcommittees if that's their desire or their district office, district manager agrees to that. The Elko district is not having voting members. All the other districts, as far as I know, are allowing that. But if if the federal personnel are not voting members, I think we can take them off the subcommittee member list, but, still identify them as, advisory or in an advisory role.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay, well, let me take that up with Bradley, and then can I let you know?
Yeah, you
Okay.
bet. It was, that was, oh gosh, I'm gonna blank out. Who's on the oversight committee? Our BLM rep? Chris, help me out.
I don't remember who it was.
Who's your deputy director, Rochelle? I am totally spacing.
Oh, Alan Shepard.
Yes, Alan Shepard indicated that, it was okay to be a voting member, but that is ultimately up to your district manager, I believe, Rochelle. So.
Okay, also, Sam Alt from the BLM's in the attendees, and he just told me that he can only raise his hand. He doesn't, he can't talk or find the chat, I guess.
Yeah, when you're in the attendees over there, if we do the public comment, you raise your virtual hand, then we can allow that person to talk. Since he's here with BLM though, in an advisory role, I can either move him over to a panelist or allow him to talk, either one. So if he's cool with it, I'll just promote him to a panelist, and then he can participate in whatever conversations we may have questions about to BLM.
Yeah, he said it's no problem either way, whatever you would like to do.
And Casey Shedden's also from the BLM office, Tom, so if we want to bump both of them over.
Okay.
So were there any other changes or potential changes to the minutes that anyone had?
Not for me.
Okay, well, I will make a motion to approve the minutes from October 4th and October 15th and double check on whether or not Rochelle can be a voting member.
We should probably have public comment first, Sarah.
Oh, shoot, you're right. Is there any public comment, Charlie?
I would say no public comment.
All right. So I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from October 4th and October 15th, just with the exception that we double check on whether or not Rochelle will remain a subcommittee member.
Second.
I'll second that.
Beat you, Jerry.
Beat you, Chris.
All right. So all those in favor, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All those opposed, say aye. All right, motion passes. Okay, and the next item is just member announcements and correspondence. So if anybody has any updates with any discussions they've had since the last meeting or any correspondence, now would be the time to make any announcements.
Marshall.
Mhm.
I just got a question. I noticed on, I don't know if it's on all the minutes, just my name spelling. I don't
Yeah,
know.
I keep changing that back. It's EVERTSON, correct?
EVERTSEN.
SEN. Okay.
And I know it's good on the 15th minutes. I don't know if it was on other ones or not, but
Okay.
I
So
just noticed
it should have an O or an E.
ETSEN.
Yes.
It's correct in the 15th minutes.
Okay. I will. Okay, I will correct that. Okay, are there any announcements? All right, and we can move on from that one without a vote. So the next item is kind of the meat of what we wanted to discuss today, and that's just looking over those draft proposals and getting those ready for the next Oversight Committee meeting. So mainly what we need to do is look at the draft proposal we had for the spring exclosure. And I was just tracking down some extra details on that and adding those in. So I wanted to get final approval and any edits put in before we actually submit that for the Oversight Committee, because they want approved and shovel-ready projects. And then we also have to revisit the one we had approved because some more information's come to light and there is some uncertainty about what areas have been treated on Argenta Rim and whether or not there's the need for more treatment in that specific location. But we do have the option to, I guess, maybe try and change it to just Unit 152 fire rehab and propose like just doing 3 parcels or the same amount of treatments, just location to be determined. Either hold on to that for the next round or come up with something more specific before we actually submit the grant. So I guess we can start with the easy one first, and that'll be the spring exclosure. And so let me share my screen really quickly. And I had come up with a few cost estimates, and I did speak with Sam Alt, and this is approved NEPA already. So it's authorized just for that section that had been fenced previously. So can everybody see my screen? Okay, so I did a kind of a quick estimate. We'll go to the first sheet. And it kind of depends on which fencing type we go with. So if we use Endow's Guzzler fencing, that's going to be a much cheaper option. And it's possible that Endow already has that on hand and that can be counted as an in-kind donation. Or we can go with a drill stem core fencing, and that one is at least double the cost, but it's a lot more sturdy, but I'm not sure, it might be overkill for what we need. So I guess, what are everyone's thoughts on the fencing type? Because the Guzzler fencing is just going to be 2 pipe rails, and that'll actually be in the ground instead of just like that jack rail fencing on top of the ground. Both of these options are pretty good for keeping horses and cattle out. So I don't know if anyone has thoughts or opinions on that.
Yeah, just a quick question to make sure I understand. By the Endowed Guzzler fencing, you mean those newer fences you guys are putting around that have kind of the two uprights and then a piece of galvanized pipe that goes in between those, correct?
Yeah, and there's 2 pipes that go horizontal as well.
Yeah, that's not. It's the different style than what's currently out there, correct?
Yes, yeah. So the jack rail fencing is pipes, but it's not actually affixed into the ground. It just sits on top. So both of these options would go into the ground and not be able to just be knocked over easily, at least.
Yeah.
And the drill core, that one has much sturdier pipes that go in and has a top pipe rail, and then the rest of it's barbed wire below that. So, I mean, it's a different type that has been suggested by contractors, but I'm not sure that we need to go that heavy duty. So
And just sorry, and just to verify, BLM is okay with the option 1 there, because there would be the holes drilled to put in those uprights. I just want to make sure.
Yeah. So Sam Malt speaking for BLM, we're good with modifying the fence as long as it's within the current disturbance. If we want to make a larger boundary, we can do that through a CX and grazing decision.
Okay. Thanks, Sam.
Yeah, just.
Go ahead.
So Marshall Evertson, question or just thought process is just a cost. And if we can get something, I kind of think that the idea in my head is tiptoeing into stuff, right? And we can always ask for like the biggest thing. And then if we get the small one, then it's kind of a win. Ask for more than you're wanting. But in this case, where there's so many different projects going on and there's who knows how much, we don't know all the details of every other project that's going to get approved or may not get approved. If we can lower the fence cost, then that maybe opens up the door for more exposures. I mean, I don't know what how long the process is for the permitting process to actually put exposures, but we obviously the BLM horse issue is not going to go away. It's going to be a continual thing for the foreseeable future. So if we're able to protect more springs at a lower cost, or at least minimize damage to them into the future, and use this as kind of the starting point, it seems to make more sense to me.
So here, Jerry here. So Marshall, what direction are you, which proposal are you more in favor of? That being said,
If that'd be effective for horses, I'm in favor of going with the lowest cost that's effective. And I think then if we can get that approved, then that not necessarily saves money for us, you know, like we got say $100,000 to spend and we only need $10,000 on this project versus 90,000. But if this project say costs $10,000 and we can do it and we can do it effectively, and then that opens the door for us. Okay, we can say that it's working. We got this other spring that we're going to monitor as well. We say, look at the damage here. Look what's happened when we've fixed this one. We can control, you know, we can show the differences. And I think that opens up more to be able to do this. You know, they've done it up like on Stag Mountain up in 073 and various other places. So if we can save the cost as much as possible, especially today, with as expensive everything is, and it works, versus spending a whole bunch of money and it doesn't work, then we're out that much more money. I mean, if we're at triple the cost almost.
right. Well, I totally agree, but the my concern is, will it work?
Right.
You know, there's so many horses in there,
Yeah.
and they know what's on the other side of the fence. I mean,
Right.
the horses that are there destroyed the fence that's there, and so
Yeah.
I'd hate. So I guess I'm asking personally, this is Jerry, asking the opinion of others. What do you think of the Guzzler fence with a lot of potential for, 1,000-pound horses pushing on it, and also follow up that I know that NDOW put in some of the sturdier fence, the more expensive fence down in at the Smith Creek Ranch. And so I'm wondering if anyone in the group today is aware of how that's worked. And then lastly, I would just say that even though I think I'm personally leaning towards the sturdier fence, and I can't make any guarantees, but because of the location and the situation, I can see the Lander Conservation District really getting behind this project and helping out in a big way financially.
I would also like to echo what Jerry said, that quality is cheap. I think that we do it right the first time if we're going to do it at all. And that's kind of about all I have to say on that.
Okay. So it sounds like maybe we're leaning more towards the drill stem fencing. I don't know if this will change anything, but that lower section is going to stay exposed. So there's still going to be that lower pond. So there might not be quite as much pressure for horses wanting to get in there. But I mean, it's always possible if that lower pond does dry up with overuse, that they could try and get into that Guzzler fencing.
No, that's a good point, Sarah. And I didn't really take that into consideration, but I think I'm going to stick with the sturdier fence, in my particular opinion. But as a little aside, is there, asking the experts in the group, is there any potential to do any without any ground disturbance? Is there any potential to do any armoring in that pond that's below down gradient from the area that we are authorized to fence? Because that might be helpful too, in my opinion, but that may be for another day, that discussion.
This is Sam. Jerry, are you asking if we can, put rock in there or sheet the bottom of the pond? Is that the kind of question?
That's exactly the question, Sam. Thanks.
Yeah. So I'd say that would probably require additional NEPA unless there's some authorization associated with a pond being there. I haven't seen anything that would actually be authorizing that pond in the first place. Not that I'm advocating to go in there and tear out the pond and whatever. But really, in order to improve upon the existing pond, it probably require an EA and grazing decision. And by the way, also, if we have multiple places where we are experiencing this across the district, we could do something on a programmatic level where we do one EA analyzing a general impact of said actions and then issue one decision implementing them across a wide suite of places. So it doesn't have to be one EA per pond. It could be one EA, one decision for as many ponds as we encounter this issue on.
That's a great point. Thanks, Sam.
Just to verify, Sarah, so is the total cost for the drill steel fence 30,000, or is it 30,000 plus 12,000?
It will be just 30,000. So I had this column for the drill stem, or these two for the drill stem, and then this would be for the guzzler fencing. And this is just the low and high quotes I was given by the contractors. And so I did this for 302.5 feet. And that was based on some old proposals where I saw they kind of cushioned it with 10% extra rail. So the total perimeter would be 302.5 that we would be fencing or padding to fence for.
Marshall here, what's the total permitted length?
It would be that upper portion that's already fenced. And so it kind of varied depending on which program I used. So I used the upper estimate. It was like between 210 and 275 feet when I measured it out. So I could also just go out there and measure it at some point to see on the ground how much it would be. But I think that would get us plenty of fencing, that 302 feet.
No, I was wondering if the actual permit, the original permit actually has a specified length of fence.
It does not, to my memory. It's pretty vague and generalized how these were authorized as disclosures. So when we do go out to be constructing this, we'll have to reflag it again. So that might be another time where we can get we can maybe do another field trip, reflag it, and then get a more specific length. But with the generalization that you have between, was it 325 and 370, or maybe it was in the 200s? That's fine for my purposes.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I think after this discussion, I think I tend to agree with Jerry to go with that, a little heavier duty fence. We know there's going to be a fair amount of pressure there, at least for the foreseeable future. I think that's the right approach, and it's still not a ton of money as far as these projects go. So I think going with the Cadillac is probably the right option here.
Yeah, and if I could just add to that, this is probably the most scattered jackerel exposure that I've seen on our field office. I've never quite seen as much material scattered from large herbivores as this one. So there's probably a variety of factors contributing to that, but even with that pond on the bottom, that fence really got destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
And then Marshall agrees with the higher level.
Okay, so we can go ahead and just shoot for that. And I will see, I'll open up the proposal now.
And Sarah, can I add, I don't, I can't make a guarantee. I don't know if it would help you with the process or not, but I can see for this amount of money, I honestly can see the potential for the Lander County Conservation District cost sharing in the 50%.
You say in the 50% range?
Yes.
And then I was going to ask you about that. Is that, do you have a proposal process for that, or is that just a discussion?
No, we'll have to, you and I can get together and submit a proposal to the Conservation District for a meeting in February.
Okay.
Or actually January. We could either January or February, we can take it up as a business item.
Okay. Yeah, well, I'm trying to remember. I think the heritage proposals are due in January. So we would need to, or Tom, sorry to keep asking you questions. Do you know if we apply for the full amount and just specify that the Conservation District was interested in contributing up to 50%, can we return, I guess, 50% of the heritage grant at a later date?
Yeah, you can do that. Yep.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, January or February.
Yeah, Sarah, if you get that date and we can get it on a January agenda, and I could sense the hesitation in Tom's voice, because if they commit funds and we back out of them, that's fun. They didn't contribute. I think we can probably get a commitment from the Conservation District before the heritage applications are processed.
Okay.
Let's just set that as a goal, you and I.
Okay. All right. I will share the proposal now. If I can find it.
Another question in regards to the funding. So these are all off heritage tags, heritage funds money? I didn't say that right. Heritage Trust Fund money?
Yeah. So I think the Heritage Fund is what we'll shoot for with this one, because they fund spring exclosures pretty frequently. And so it's in line with what they'd like to fund. I think I shared the file. Sorry, I'm trying to find the right file to share.
So Sarah, that being the case, yeah, let's just plan on getting a commitment from the Conservation District prior to going to the Heritage Fund Committee and make an application to the Heritage Fund. That should help, I would think.
Yeah, and I know they like to see other funding sources. So what we can do. Okay, so we'll need to change this. I think the main thing was the ask for funding. So that would be 30,250. And I can take out that range. Okay, so for partners and funding sources, I guess I'm just going to put here interested in and I'll leave it like that for now, and then when we do the actual proposal, we can hopefully have that commitment done by then, because I think these are due later in January, the actual heritage proposals.
Yeah, I think we can do that. Here's a question for Sam and for everyone. Would it make sense, and as a partner, if BLM is going to get credit as a partner, what's the potential for getting some seed and seeding from the BLM and seeding inside that exclosure? I mean, there's a lot of moisture there that we may be able to take advantage of.
Yeah, I think there's definitely a possibility for that. That's actually a great question that I might toss to KC. We do spend 8,100 money every year on just seed that gets turned over for different projects. And so I don't know if KC, if you've got any thoughts on that, but I think we could work something out for that.
It's a pretty small amount. It probably wouldn't be 20 pounds of seed.
Yeah, we might just grab a bucket and go back to a warehouse. I'm sure it's something that we could probably do.
Right. We won't tell anybody, Sam.
Nudge, wink, wink.
Okay, and then will partner financial support provide in-kind matching funds? I think,
Yes.
or it will be yes, or because in-kind is donations, correct?
Yeah, but you could consider NGM's commitment to monitor, or excuse me, to maintain that as in-kind.
Okay, perfect. I think that was just the one last question we didn't have answered. Okay, so this one, I think.
But I got a couple of questions if I could.
Yeah, absolutely.
So do we want to list the species, the additional species benefit, and then do we want, I can't remember if we mentioned it or if we just kind of mentioned it generally. What other spring are we going to monitor? I don't know if we want to list that specifically in there. And then the trail camera, how is that going to be managed? Like, who's going to do it? Are they end-out cameras, or how is that just going to be? That's just the other thought that I had written down.
Okay, yeah, and I'd be happy to do the monitoring with the end-out camera I have. That would be, I was also gonna check with you guys on that. Would we want to do just the pool down below, since that's going to be directly next to it, versus the exposed portion, or did we want to go still to that dry wash spring?
Oh, that was at Dry Canyon Summit.
Mhm.
Okay. I say you do one inside the spring head, inside the exclosure, to show the grass growth or actual wildlife use on that spring itself.
Right, and then the lower pool, since that's going to stay exposed, do we want to just monitor that, or did we want to go over to the Dry Canyon one that we had talked about?
I would think that the lower pool would be easier, more efficient, and a better control for the monitor.
Right. Okay.
One inside and one outside.
Yeah, that would be, I think, easy enough to do.
So we could just change that, then just take place via trail cameras inside and outside exclosure instead of adjacent water source. And then are we going to add the species in there for the additional benefits?
Yeah, so that one, I think I just forgot to do that because it didn't have a spot to fill in. So I can just put that in the notes here. Inside spring exposure and what did we say? It was sage grouse, pronghorn. Oh, what other game species?
I think we saw it came up.
Sorry, what was that, Jerry? You broke up a little.
I think we saw some bobcat tracks up.
Yeah, there's bobcats and lions.
Yeah.
Non-game species, rabbits.
Okay. Is there anything else we see that needs to be changed on here?
Do we want to put the specific unit number 154 up on top.
Oh.
On the there.
Or yeah, so I think this was just to know like which,
Oh, which group it came from?
yeah. But I can put it in parentheses here if you'd like.
Oh, I just, there's just something I noted. I guess that would work, huh? Yeah, in parentheses there would work.
Okay, I think that is everything. So we have a much more narrowed down cost now, since we're just going to do that smaller area with the drill stem core. So I think that will help for sure. Are there any other edits or anything anyone wants to add?
I don't think we need to have it on the application, but when we get to the design phase, I'd like to get input on whether or not you have an access gate.
Great. Livestock out.
Yeah, let it out, or if a seating really does well and becomes decadent, since Chris is in charge of maintenance, he could take one or two horses over there and let it graze for 3 or 4.
Right.
The
Yeah.
BLM fully supports that concept, minus the horses.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Yeah, and I did, when I was talking to the contractor, just getting the general estimate, they did ask how many gates we would like. So I think just one access gate for that column area would be sufficient.
Yep. Agreed.
Okay. Well, I will go ahead and save this. And then the next thing I wanted to talk about before we take any action on any of these or public comment is the Argenta Rim, the project we had approved previously. Like I said, more information's come to light, and it sounds like it might not be that necessary to do further treatment than what's already been done up there. So what we could do if we still want to submit this is we can try just making it generally for unit 152. And then hopefully by the time the heritage proposal itself is due, we can narrow it down a bit. Or we can just keep this in our back pocket and discuss much further and get it in for the next round. So what's everyone's kind of general thoughts on that?
I'm good either way. I was just trying to think if from the other groups I'm involved in, if there's any that are, not super specific to the actual polygons. And I think there are a few that aren't specific to an actual polygon. So I think as long as you had it pared down at least to a single unit, I think that might be okay.
Okay. I mean, I guess it couldn't hurt to just throw it in the ring, and if it gets approved, then we can just plan on treating 3 sections somewhere in unit 152, and just figure out where the best place would be, maybe somewhere on Winter Range that's been hit pretty hard by fires, or maybe we might be able to get a little more information on what's going on Argenta and pick a few more sections up there, but could just change this to 152 fire.
Just as an uninformed question on my part, is this cheatgrass treatments, or are we going after white top? What exactly are we trying to target here?
Yeah, it was mainly going to be focused on areas that have been hit pretty hard by cheatgrass, because I think there's quite a few EAs we could tuck this into that are already approved. So like either Elephant Head or Argenta or some of those that are more general, if that would be appropriate.
Okay, understood.
Well, Sam, since you have the floor, you're intimately involved with Argenta. But I don't think you were at the last meeting when we talked about this project. Do you have any feeling about the potential up there?
Yeah, on the Argenta allotment, I don't think, there's portions for sure, but I don't think cheatgrass is the main thing that I'm worried about out there. It seems like the white top in Argenta and Caracol Lake is starting to run a little rampant. And I know this group, or at least the Lander County Conservation District, has been working on that for a better part of a decade, going after that one.
Yeah, that's the conservation. Yes.
Yeah. So, I don't know if we really have straight monocultures of cheatgrass on the Argenta allotment. I think more of that's kind of more to the east in the Geyser and over in the Tuscarora field office. But having said that, I know we can always find places that has cheatgrass and treat it before it becomes a huge issue, huge uncontrollable issue, especially if it burns through. So I know that kind of on the east side of the rim there's some areas that, we could probably be doing some cheatgrass treatments. It's still kind of unburned. And then natives might be able to come back. It's, not heavily distributed on with livestock, and there's no horses. So there might be some opportunities.
Yeah.
Can we just change it to area wide and just exclude the, not specifically our 152, but the whole area?
Yeah, I think we could, but if we want to get it approved by the Oversight Committee, I was thinking if we at least narrow it down to a single unit, I think they might be more receptive to it than just saying area wide. But I mean, if we want to try and shoot big, I'm happy to do so.
Yeah, and just to clarify, Sam, actually, you can see now those 3 sections that Sarah has outlined in black there. Were the sections we had talked about initially, and they are on the Geyser allotment out of the Tuscarora field office.
Oh,
Yeah, Argenta Rim is still an appropriate way to define those 3 sections. They're just not within the Argenta allotment proper.
Correct.
Okay. So have you done any of, so that would be Tuscarora's field office that would have the information on what's been treated here?
Yes.
All right, so we won't go into that. I've just been waiting. I know Jeremy has been doing some work up there and they've treated a few additional sections, but I haven't been able to get which specific ones those are yet. And I know they've sprayed some in the Dunphy Pass to use as a fuel break. So I just need to get a bit more information just on the map to see where we could fill in the gaps. And I was hoping to use this kind of cheatgrass heat map to pinpoint some areas we could focus on, but this might have to wait. So we can definitely go forward with just generalizing and seeing what the Oversight Committee thinks of that, or we can wait. So it's up to everyone what they're most comfortable with.
I like the idea of just doing this, so just to keep it with a single unit, and then, but I'm afraid if we just have it like that and then nothing pops up, then we've got the project approved, but we don't actually have a specific plan to go forward, and then we end up in a year later and we still haven't actually used that money where it's supposed to go, and it kind of shoots yourself in the foot.
And I believe there's a lot of potential for like the Elephant Head area. We could even like spread them out if we want to do one to kind of fill in what they're doing down in the Elephant Head fire area. We could maybe do one up on Argenta or one elsewhere where there's already an EA approved. So we'll have to, I mean, those are more details we'd have to figure out. So yeah, I guess. Go ahead.
refresh my memory, 60,000, 67,000 per section.
Yeah.
A little over 1,000 per acre. And what's the total treatment?
This would,
Including,
that would be for both spraying, herbicide, and seeding
and seed, yeah.
aerially or reseeding. Specify that. With owned sections.
No, I'm gonna say, I think it's a great idea, but without specifics, a specific parcel. You know, if I was on that, and I'm not, but if I was on that approval committee, I'd say, well, you can't tell us where you're gonna do this. We're not gonna approve it. That's just, and I may be wrong, but that's my thought.
Okay. Sorry about the screaming toddler in the background.
I thought it was Sam.
So did I, Jerry.
So are we leaning towards, is anyone just rearing to go on getting this one submitted, or is it okay if we kind of pull back on this one for now?
Feel free to agree with me.
Jerry has a good point. I mean, I'm always fearful that we'll get something approved and then not be able to find the right spot with the right approval authority for it. And I think that's probably a worse look for, the MDEP than, not putting forward enough proposals. But so I'm almost now leaning more towards not submitting, but.
Okay.
Same for Marshall.
Okay. Okay, so we'll go ahead and just kind of put this one on the back burner. But this, I think, will be a pretty easy one to get going for next round for sure. So this could be a priority for a next meeting or just next time we're formulating projects.
Yeah, I would request in that regard. I think that's the right track. But if Jeremy's been doing a lot of work up in that area and I know he's familiar with it, if he is adamant about a particular specific area to treat, then we should hear about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I haven't heard, especially up there, it seems like they've treated what they would like to. So he didn't see any need for expansion right now. But in the future, if things don't take, we could also go back in and retreat some areas with this.
Okay, that's all good to know. Yeah.
Okay. So we'll just plan on pulling back on this one and submitting the exclosure proposal as is. So I will, let me see if there's any public comment. So we'll do public comment really quickly. So if you have any comment, Charlie, go ahead and raise your hand. Looks like no public comment. So I guess I'll make a motion that we approve the updated Strawberry Summit exclosure proposal, and I guess discard for now the Argenta Rim proposal.
I'll second that.
All right, so all those in favor, say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say aye. Motion passes. Okay, just really quickly, the next item is general public comment. So again, Charlie, if you have any public comment, go ahead and raise your hand. right, don't see any hands, so we can.
I can't believe that this is 2 meetings in a row that Charlie doesn't have something to say. It's unbelievable.
Oh, there we go.
Mr. Clements,
Can you hear me?
absolutely.
Good. So actually, I try to get to as many of these as possible so that when these proposals come, I can check my notes and it clarifies what you're all thinking. And the other committee people that aren't showing up, I can explain it to them. Or I gotta call Jasmine and he can do it what do we call it? The blunt way.
No, we absolutely appreciate you participating on all of these, Charlie. It means a lot to.
All right. So the next item is just deciding on a date and time for the next meeting. And did we want to just do what we did last time and wait for the Oversight Committee to have their meeting and then send out an email poll of when to hold ours after that?
That's what I would recommend, and that was the same idea we came up with yesterday in the Area 6 meeting as well. So just kind of wait till after the Oversight Committee meeting.
Okay, we'll wait on that.
Agreed.
And then the only other thing I have to add is I'm due to have a baby on December 17th. So my availability is going to be a little spotty there at the end of the month. But I'm going to try my best to stay in contact via email whenever possible. And then we should be able to hold some meetings, but I'm going to be a little bit in a black hole for a few weeks, and hopefully I'll be able to attend the Oversight Committee meeting, but we'll see. So if I disappear, that's where I've gone.
Sarah, that being the case, if you want to contact me as soon as you can find out about the Heritage Fund application due date, I'll do my make sure we're up to speed with the Conservation District.
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, and the other thing I'll say is that tell this to every young expectant mother: Jerry works for either a girl or a boy. So keep that.
It's good to know.
Nobody ever takes me up on it, but
No, we've already named her.
All right.
Maybe a middle name.
So I can maybe jump in here real quick, not about baby names, but for the heritage proposals, our internal NDOW submissions are due by January 31st.
Oh, wow.
But proposals that come from proponents outside of NDOW have till March 1st.
Oh, wow.
So I guess that kind of leaves a couple of different avenues if it didn't get in through the NDOW internal one. There's potential this subcommittee or Lander County or somebody could use that March 1st deadline to kind of submit it, you know, in lieu of getting the internal one done. But if possible, January 31st is for the NDOW.
Yeah, and I've been kind of working on it already in case we get the go ahead to submit. So it needs some finishing touches, but it's fairly complete at this point. But we'll definitely have a meeting and everyone will get to review that before anything gets submitted.
yeah, I can tell you, you'll have an answer by then, in plenty of time then, from the Conservation District. And I don't see any roadblocks really.
Great. That'll be great. All right. Is there? Go
Yeah,
ahead,
I do
Jim.
have more questions since Charlie's here. Talking about treating and seed. Is there any, for him to think about any need for test plots in our area? Just something to think about for future proposals.
Are you asking Charlie if that's?
Well, I'm just asking if you'll think about it, and if we all think about it. You know, the fact that we talked about these treatments, these expensive treatments, and don't have a specific area, but yeah, if the conversation started that we with Charlie and his crew, that we do some test plots with them, cooperate with them, and fund them if necessary. That might get us going on whole sections potentially.
Yeah, we always look to partner with projects like this. So, it's to our benefit to climb on your guys' back. The species you use, the treatments you use, and then we put in our own test plots so that we learn from each other. That's kind of been my approach over the years. And also, your project would be a one and done kind of deal. You hit a dry year or whatever, we would push to continue doing it till that episodic event happens, and we can learn from that as well.
So as we talk about treatments, I would encourage this group to keep that in mind, keep Charlie's comments in mind.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Any other comments or thoughts? All right. With that, we can go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 4:58 p.m. And I can't remember, Tom, do we need to take a vote on that?
It depends on whose meeting you go to. You might as well take a vote on it, but a lot of times the chairperson just swings their virtual gavel and gets it done. But go ahead and make a motion, I guess.
The conservation district always votes on it, so we don't want to make them mad at this juncture. So I move to close the meeting.
Right.
Seconds. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say aye. All right, we'll go ahead and adjourn. Thanks, everyone.